It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's time for another edition of the Shoe Shine Monday Night Boxing Podcast Número Uno. Don't I wish? It's your boy Dave from the 408, now making his life in Las Vegas, and joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Yawning over here, Philly Irish, Drew Evo. Drew, ¿qué pasa, man? You hyped?
What's up?
He says, what's up? Guys, I know I barely promote, man, but so I do appreciate everyone who joins us and watches this shit on replay. Shout out to Sin City Syndicate. Shout out to Chicano Prophet. First people up in the room showing some love. I do appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed to Chicano Prophet's channel. Awesome content creator right here on YouTube. And Sin City Syndicate, what's up, homie? I thought you was going to call me when you was in Vegas. I didn't hear shit. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's football season, Drew, and preseason starts this Sunday, and I can't be more excited because I'm trying to get tickets to check out the 49ers play Jimmy G, who takes over the Raiders this Sunday. And I know there's going to be a lot of red and gold in Las Vegas this weekend. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to put on my 49ers jersey and walk the strip or walk Fremont Street and flex.
Not as excited as he was when they got their ass kicked in the NFC title game.
Oh, boy. All right, now, I don't think we'll see Jimmy G, the porn star, playing much of anything this Sunday, but if I could get myself in the door and finally check out that Raiders Stadium for this, it's preseason, but this is the only time the Niners ever get to play the Raiders. And did you know, Drew, that for over 10 years, the Niners were not allowed to play the 49ers because of an NFL ruling over an incident of violence? Did you know that the Niners and Raiders didn't play for over 10 years? Lot of fights. A lot of fights. But thank God the Raiders fans here in Las Vegas are a lot more well-behaved than the real Raiders fans in Oakland. Shout out to my Raiders fans in the building, 49ers fans. Drew, are you feeling preseason football? You getting ready for that fall? The big fall games?
Well, I'm ready for the regular season.
I heard that, man. I heard that. And I'm ready for some real boxing to get back into the rotation this Saturday night. There's a good championship fight. Dos Mexicanos, two really great Mexican fighters. Of course, Navarrete, who just recently won that WBO strap, barely won that strap. Y'all remember that Australian guy almost had him laid out? Oh, shit. Against Oscar Valdez, former featherweight champ, former WBC 130-pound champion, who I saw got smoked by Shakur Stevenson. But this one promises to be electrifying. Two Mexicans. We're going to get to that fight. Drew, it's something to be said when the best knockout of the weekend didn't even happen in the sport of boxing, bro. You know, did you see that? That the best knockout in the sport, well, it wasn't even in the sport. The best knockout I've seen all weekend was in the sport of baseball. But this dude lands like the perfect right hook. Look at that, right on the chin. Say goodnight. Say goodnight. That's the best knockout I've seen all weekend, Drew. And of course, it didn't happen in the sport of boxing. What a shame. That was some vicious accuracy there. What was that? Cleared out the benches. There's the shot right there. Man, hey, the guy got a good right hand, bro. Oh, man. Yeah, nice to see that fights still happen in baseball, says Chicano Prophet. You know, I think baseball, something has to be done about the sport of baseball. I'm just going to, it was my childhood passion sport, right? I played baseball all the way up until high school, until I just wasn't that good anymore to compete at the top level. But, Drew, should they change baseball to 7 innings? I mean, I know they're trying to shorten the game. You know what I'm saying? Should they shorten the season? What could be done to save baseball in America?
Tell you the truth, they've done enough. Like, the games are going by quick. I watch a lot of baseball now.
Good. All right. Well, I'm happy to hear that. That's an outside critic of someone who doesn't even watch baseball regularly. But I did enjoy baseball, and I still love the sport of baseball. And like Chicano says, it's nice to see that people are still fighting in the sport of baseball. Bring some of that passion back. All right, Drew. Sin City Syndicate says nothing saves the sport of baseball. Guys, don't forget to, if you can, share this show, man. It's going to be light. We have a light audience today. I barely just posted it on Twitter. I do appreciate y'all. But Drew, this Jake Paul fight against Nick Diaz from Stockton, the 209. This was the big pay-per-view event this weekend. And Jake Paul still is a pay-per-view star. And he goes back from fight after his first loss in fighting the Fury brother, Tommy Fury, and getting his first loss handed to him by a real boxer. Decides to take on one of the great legends in MMA, Northern California's Nate Diaz from the 209 Stockton represent. But at 37 years old, I don't think many boxing aficionados, even people like Lukey who know him and Andre Ward, I don't think too many people gave him a great chance of winning this fight at 37 years old, taking a huge weight cut. But did he win the moral victory on Saturday night? I mean, I kind of feel like it was still a lot of fun watching this train wreck.
He didn't hurt. Paul didn't hurt Diaz at all. Like, here's the thing. This was really. I didn't know why they even attempt to still try to have fights for him on pay-per-view. That war ended when he lost to Tommy Fury. Like, and then he went back, instead of fighting another pro boxer, he went back to find an MMA guy. And they picked somebody that really wasn't really a threat to him that could hurt him. Because, Nate Diaz, listen, like it or not, he's only known for having a chin and everything. Look at the he's wearing 8-ounce gloves and everything instead of 4 3-ounce gloves in there. And it's not, and all he can do is punch, and he's not really that good of a boxer and everything. So that's what all these MMA guys had in common, except for Silva. Silva was just too old. And people questioned if that was rigged or not. So
well, I got to hand it to you, man. Silva, two of the best strikers in the UFC history are Anderson Silva, and Nate Diaz was considered to be a fantastic striker, as well as having excellent ground game, jiu-jitsu. But the age, the discrepancy in age, and Anderson Silva even being in his 40s and coming off that brutal leg injury that he had, I mean, all these things, boxing is a young man's sport, and the ability to have quick reflexes and fast twitch muscles still active. I mean, it was full blown transparent that Nate Diaz got some slow hands. Everybody should know that.
But I don't know, like Silva, got picked mainly because he beat Chavez Jr. in an 8-round fight and everything. And people are wondering, why the hell did Jake Paul not fight Chavez Jr. and everything? Like, I don't get it. Like, they're trying to say, he's 5-0 against MMA fighters, but look what they all have in common. They're not, like, only maybe 2 of them not known for wrestling. Yeah. So, like, when he lost to the pure boxer, when he lost to actually a pro boxer, Tommy Fury, instead of going for another one, they decided to go back to the MMA route. Like, I don't think the numbers to this event is going to be well. I think, like, if you look at it, the Anderson Silva fight didn't do well at all. That's why Showtime dropped him. Like, I don't see this being any better. If Anderson Silva couldn't added any star power to this, what Nate Diaz is going to do, because they know what kind of fight this was going to be already. I'll be lucky if this hits 250.
Wow. I want to say hello to my good friend Michelle Monroe, who's celebrating her birthday this week. Everybody wish her a happy birthday. And my friend Sarah H. from Urban AC. Always nice to have big women YouTubers in here, Drew, because we'll get to some women's boxing too, because Amanda Serrano and Heather Hardy, I mean, I got to talk about these. A lot of this card on Saturday, the pay-per-view, if you paid for it, God bless you. But they were mismatches. I'm going to be straight up. These were all mismatches. In fact, one of the fights that got my interest early on was another kid from Stockton, California, from 209, Chris Avila, who was fighting Jeremy Stevens. Drew, even when I stopped watching UFC, knew who this guy Jeremy Stevens was. 49 pro MMA fights, a fantastic striker, fantastic KO reel. But Chris Avila is a kid who trained in amateur boxing in the Central Valley of California. He had already 4 professional, I think, or a 4-1 record in professional boxing. Did not do so well on his UFC stint or Bellator, but still has professional boxing experience. And Drew, if there is one takeaway from this Saturday night, is that anybody with amateur experience, and I'm not just a handful of fights, I'm talking considerable amateur tournament experience, is better off than any guy coming from the world of MMA in his first pro fight. Just any. I mean, take any Golden Gloves winner or any kid who's competed in national tournaments in boxing is going to smoke an MMA fighter. And Chris Avila did just that in defeating somebody who's kind of an MMA legend in Jeremy Stevens. I found that fight entertaining because Chris Avila was completely out of shape. Lord knows, I mean, he had the stomach like I do up at and he was whooping on dude, taking his time, laughing, enjoying himself. I mean, it's pretty much the way every single one of those fights went. But I have to say, Heather Hardy, 41 years old, fantastic career, former world champion. Why did she need that payday, Drew? Amanda Serrano made her rearranged her face on Saturday night.
You know, me and Beeb had a conversation about this and said, they asked her why Heather Hardy. Amanda Serrano says, I wanted to get him a 6-figure payday. That's why you picked Heather Hardy to fight. And I'm like, what? And it just let me know that, you know, I don't think, like, you know, since she got the Katie Taylor fight and everything, she doesn't need to take another dangerous fight and everything. Like, you know, really, they're trying to get soft touches for her now and everything in the build of legacy. But tell you the truth, you haven't fought Alicia Bongano. You haven't fought.
Oh, here we go.
Man. You haven't fought Terry Harper. You haven't fought Natasha Jonas. You haven't fought.
But she's a 7th division female world champion. But yes, Drew, those are some great names. And Alicia Bumgarner was there. And might I ask you, how did she look?
She looks smashing.
Drew, by the way, Michelle is here, but that Alicia Bumgarner, if Michelle's here, we went and partied with Michelle on Saturday, and I had to pass on that party where Alicia Bumgarner was the Boxing Voice party, Drew, and she was the esteemed guest, one of the esteemed guests.
I gotta ask Michelle something because she's probably the one that was married. Who's the other snow bunny with the hair up? Because that's the one I was like this. Who the hell is that one now?
Oh, Drew. I thought she didn't like snow bunnies.
I don't care. I don't discriminate.
Oh, he don't care. He don't discriminate. Well, all beautiful women, yes.
I appreciate it. Dave, how dare you say that?
Oh, Drew. Yeah, okay. Where were we? We're talking about women's boxing. We're talking about this card on Saturday night. Chris Avila gets that win over Jeremy Stevens. Heather Heat Hardy, God bless her. Please hang them up. It was a very touching, post-fight interview. I appreciate what they said. But Drew, you're absolutely right. It's time for Alicia Bumgarner to fight the new generation. I'm sorry, it's time for Amanda Serrano to fight the new generation and take that challenge with Alicia Bumgarner. And they had her there, and specifically for that reason, to get people ready and to marinate this fight. But don't marinate it too long because Amanda Serrano's getting up there in age, man. Yeah, she's a fine technician, but Alicia's looking pretty good to me lately. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about her physical appearance. I'm talking about what she's doing in the ring.
Yeah, you won't get in trouble, Dave.
She's looking pretty good in the ring. And I think my wife asked me, she says, who do you have in that fight? I was like, I favor Alicia. I favor Alicia's youth and explosiveness. I just don't think Amanda Serrano, as good as a technician she is going to be able to overcome that explosiveness of Alicia.
But you know what? Amanda Serrano just eats punches. You know, she punches with them, and like there's more punches. She eats punches too. She doesn't do a lot of head movement and everything. This is something that's, you know, it like Alicia Bongano easily beats Amanda Serrano.
Well, since Eddie Syndicate agrees here, he says Serrano eats too many punches. I think it's going to be the fight that we saw Amanda Serrano in fact, that fight happened to be the night I watched Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson when she fought, help me out, Drew, your Irish counterpart or British counterpart, Amanda Serrano, Women's Fight of the Year. Who was that she fought? See?
What, Katie Taylor?
Katie Taylor, thank you very much. See, I'm gonna let you count. I'm boycotting women's boxing for now. I can't even remember the names. No disrespect to Katie Taylor, but I think it's gonna be Fight of the Year when they finally fight Amanda Serrano.
She kind of made a statement that didn't make most sense at all. Because if you say until they get equal pay, they're not going to get equal pay if nobody watches them. So what the fuck kind of statement is that?
Shit, come on now, man. All right, let's talk about the good that Jake Paul has done. I know I'm trolling with my thumbnail tonight, but Jake Paul has helped the sport and specifically came into the right time to pick up Amanda Serrano and to help women's boxing in general, guys. I know I've given Jake Paul a hard time on my show, but he has done some great things. But I want to say this about his development today. While Drew walks off, I was watching Paulie Malignaggi, who, I still think very highly of this, aside from the stuff that he's gotten himself in trouble to as a commentator. I very much respect Paulie. And he said today that he did not see improvement in Jake Paul's game, and I have to vehemently disagree. Now, on the points he said that the guy hasn't learned to cut off the ring, I 100% agree. Jake Paul has not learned to cut off the ring, and that's to be expected with a guy who has zero amateur experience. When he adds that to his arsenal, then he's actually going to be potentially kind of dangerous, because what we do know is that in that first round against Nate Diaz, he was explosive, and he's got hand speed for a big guy with a big build. Muscularity. He's got some fairly good hand speed and explosiveness and pop behind that right hand. One of the things that Paulie said that he doesn't like is mechanics. He doesn't see good mechanics when he throws his punches. He can't cut off the ring. And one thing that he didn't point out that I find a problem with Jake Paul, and maybe you guys can agree, is that he doesn't have the gas tank to be fighting 10 rounders yet, Drew. He kind of reminds me of Canelo early in Canelo Alvarez's career, when Canelo needed to take breaks and needed to take minutes off certain rounds. And we saw a lot of that, which is what allowed Nate Diaz, after getting dropped, it looked like it was going to be over. Had he had the gas tank to finish Nate Diaz, or maybe Nate Diaz just has that fantastic, chin, very respectable chin. But Drew, the gas tank on Jake Paul needs work. Agree or disagree?
Strongly agree.
All right. Paulie Malignaggi says he can't cut off the ring. Do you agree with that?
I agree. Let's just put out the facts. The basic shit he has trouble doing.
All right. Well, he's working on. He's got some stuff. He doesn't feel that he's improved. I feel I have seen a little bit of improvement. I don't think he's ready to fight no 10 rounders with actual professional guys who've competed, who have amateur pedigree. I think Jake Paul looks like a solid guy now that if he entered as a professional and was not famous on YouTube, that I could comfortably put him in a show on like Thompson Boxing. We've talked a lot about club circuit. I think he could do comfortably well on a club circuit, with the skill set he has now. Now, granted, he's famous. He's coming into the sport a famous guy with one of the biggest social media followings in the world. So he gets all these exemptions, Drew. And one of the things I just want to point out, Drew, is what weight class is 185? Because if he's ever going to fight a real fighter, it's either cruiserweight, I don't see him beating anybody like a Brandeis or Apatai, the champion from Australia. I don't see him competing at cruiserweight, and at 185, he's still 10 pounds away. I don't even know if the dude could drop 10 more pounds. He's very muscular. That'd be 10 pounds. Could he drop 10 pounds and fight? He can't fight any of the fucking light heavyweights, man. He could get killed.
He's going to have to figure something out. What weight class is he going to compete at?
That 185 is an MMA weight class, which brings us back to this, that, all right, the fight's done with, guys, and Nate Diaz performed as reasonably well as he could, and everybody found it very enjoyable. I gave him the straight-up moral victory, and the potential for them to fight in MMA, I think we all want to see Jake Paul get choked out, so I'm all for it. Let's do it. Run it back in MMA, run it back in the cage, and let us try. Let one of these MMA guys get a chance to show off their complete skill set.
But here's the thing. Question is, Is he able to cut 10 pounds more? Probably not. Is he able to hold an extension weight of maybe between 196 to 200? It's more.
I feel like he's too small. I feel like that's a
He is
lot of
too.
muscle.
Here's the thing. He is too small for cruiserweight. But tell you the truth, there has been guys that campaign at cruiserweight that are 6 foot tall and everything. So, like, maybe someone if they're really looking towards some goals in his career, they're gonna have to start talking to him and say, "Yo, if you're looking to make these goals, you're gonna have to start fighting at a lower weight."
Yeah, the fight doctor. Shout out to the fight doctor. He says that Jake Paul's very much a fighter without a weight class. There's a weight class in MMA. 185 was one of the weight classes, but in boxing,
technically, he is fighting as a cruiserweight because it's over 175. He is technically fighting as a cruiserweight.
A very small one.
He's a very undersized cruiserweight in this weight, but he's fighting at catch rates. But this is a cruiserweight fight.
Yeah,
and everything. Anything from 176 up is considered cruiserweight.
Yeah,
so,
I hear you, Drew.
Look at it.
I don't know.
People look at it. It's a cruiserweight.
As people are excited about the future of Jake Paul, he's obviously got a lot of eyes that are casual fans of the sport of boxing, and that's great that he's brought new eyes to the sport. But it looks like he'll be going in the direction of going into the cage and giving it a shot on the cage, which I don't think we'll see him with a real boxer well until next year, if we see him at all. I mean, who knows? Who knows what his career holds?
I really think the pressure will get on him more if KSI beats Tommy Fury.
Now we're just talking influencer boxing. Let's move on. Finally, I'm ready to move on from Jake Paul, Drew, because talking about cutting weight, today I heard a fantastic interview by Floyd Mayweather on Fight Hype. I think it was Fight Hype, but the guy went to Floyd's house, a very respectable journalist, I guess, in sport of boxing, and went to Floyd's house. And by the way, Drew, I don't live that far from Floyd Mayweather. And the interviewer, was actually very floored by Floyd's majestic palace. And Floyd was very humble and very nice to invite the reporter in, Drew. And he has some very strong words, feelings, opinions. He gave his candid thoughts on the Terrence Crawford-Bud fight. And what he said about Errol Spence surprised me, because a lot of people were going around thinking that it's time for Errol Spence to retire. And Floyd didn't offer that at all. He actually said that he thinks Errol Spence should be fighting at middleweight or super middleweight. That's what he thinks Spence should be doing. That's how much weight Spence has been losing to basically weight bully the welterweight division to get those wins. That's a lot of weight. He thinks that's the right weight for Errol Spence. And I had to ask you, man, do you think that's going to help him, or do you think the damage has been done in these car accidents?
Like, here's the thing. He's trying to make excuses why Errol Spence lost. Errol Spence basically lost because he's a predictable fighter. And all he was doing is out-muscling these other welterweights until somebody came up that had the IQ and everything and something to exploit his style a little bit, and they don't want to give the dude credit. Like, people got to look at it like this. There was a tweet out that fucking Terrence Crawford brung out in 2018. It says, "I'm going to beat Errol Spence," and people are going to say that he should have been at 160, that he stayed at welterweight far too long. And you know what? It came true. Everybody's saying that he stayed at welterweight too long. So we're going to look at it like this. That Errol Spence moving up to 154 is going to get killed. Errol Spence at 160 will get killed, and at 168, Errol Spence will get killed, because here's the thing. These guys are going to be as big as him or bigger than him. And a predictable fighting style like he has is going to be figured out. The blueprint is there how to beat Errol Spence. Errol Spence is just a basic fighter at best. The argument is over.
Yeah, I'm curious if he'll skip 154 and go right up to 160. There's some good talent at 154 naturally, Drew. And speaking of 154, is the fact that Bud has some exchanges with Charlo that Saturday night, and people have now figured out what the exchange was. But the exchange was basically, Bud telling Charlo, I want you next. And Charlo saying, you're a fool. I'm fighting Canelo. I'm doing bigger things than you. Basically paraphrasing, saying, you're nothing to me. I'm going to fight Canelo. But apparently now he's had a change of tune, and Charlo's saying when he's done with Canelo, he's coming back to 154 to defend 3 titles, Drew, because it turns out he will be undisputed on the day of the fight, but immediately after the fight, they're stripping him of one of the belts. Win, lose, or draw, Charlo will not be undisputed, but he will hang on to 3 of those belts. And it looks like Tim Tszyu will be either elevated, will get the fight for it, or just be handed that championship belt.
He's going to be handed it.
That's crazy. I think you should still earn it. You should still fight for the vacant title. They should have number 1 and 2 fight. That pisses me off. I really like Tim Tszyu, but giving somebody a free title is some bullshit. Fight for it. At least, fight Jesus Ramos Jr. or somebody. Hello, Mom Food. Hi, Mom Food's in here.
That's
Shout
the
out to
new
Mom
law
Food.
now.
Huh?
They give belts away now.
I hate that shit.
They elevate him before champion.
Oh, and I hate this shit that Devin Haney is going to get to fight Regis Prograis. I'm excited about that fight, but I can't stand the fact that because of favoritism with the WBC, they're going to allow him a champion in recess?
Become champion in recess.
So he could try to win that belt, and if he loses, he's still undisputed, and he can come back down and hold all those titles.
This just does not make sense. You took this fight because you didn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, so you're ducking the fight and everything. Then you want to stay face and request to be called champion in recess, so you can stay face. That people ain't gonna look at you as ducking Shakur Stevenson. But in all reality, you're ducking the dude. And people are going to say, oh, he wanted 50%. He wanted 50%. So if he can ask for it, but they can negotiate. But Devin Haney wanted to give him 25% to see know that he want to take it. So the thing about it is, here's the thing. If he became mandatory, which he most likely was named mandatory to Devin Haney, then the number split will depend on, usually will probably be a 70-30 split. But depending on how it is, they can negotiate and put it up to a 35% and everything. And people gotta look at it. Yeah. Haney gets no slack. No, Haney doesn't get no slack because he's holding a belt hostage now. This is a method of holding a belt hostage because you don't want to fight the motherfucker that's a mandatory for it.
I heard that, Drew. I heard that. All right, let's get on to a couple of last juicy cheese man gossip, PBC related stuff. Drew, David Benavidez did fantastic in his last Las Vegas appearance against, another guy who's in the news today, and that's Caleb Plant. And the news is breaking that it looks like we're going to have a fight between Boo Boo Andrade. And man, did I see I got some funny memes. I wish I would have downloaded them to put on the show today, but it looks like Boo Boo Andrade is going to get an opportunity to finally fight a big name. I, for one, am excited about that fight, and I'll tell you why. Because Boo Boo Andrade, as boring as he appears, Shakur Stevenson had the same problem for a while he's going into his man strength, right, Drew? Boo Boo Andrade is a guy, and Lukey Boxing, our good friend here who's been in camps with him, says the guy's got extra levels, at levels that he's never even shown in the ring. And I think David Benavidez has never fought anybody like Boo Boo Andrade. And styles make fights. Styles make fights. I want to see David Benavidez fight a slick southpaw and see how he's going to use that killer skill set that he has on a guy that can move like the way Boo Boo Andrade does, man. Because Boo Boo Andrade can embarrass you. And I don't know how this is going to play out. I really don't. But I don't want people to get sour on the fact that this is a whack fight because Bubu Andrade's not a come-forward Mexican-style fighter or like Jaime Munguia or, like a Jaime Munguia type. This fight could be potentially very, very interesting to watch.
Here's the thing. If the fight gets made, people look at it like this. Caleb Plant gave him problems last time. The only thing that really killed Caleb Plant in that fight, he didn't have power to keep Benavidez honest. Demetrius Andre has a little power.
He does.
A little pop to his punches. And he can box his ass off. So, tell you the truth, this is going to be a very difficult matchup for David Benavidez. A matchup that he could possibly lose.
It could be. And Nando says, shout out to Nando for joining us late. It says, Dudu gonna stink it out versus the plotting Benavidez. I found that fight between Canelo Alvarez when he was much younger against Erislandy Lara to be very intriguing. I enjoyed watching that fight. That was kind of a nail biter. I actually saw that fight at a movie theater in San Jose, California, when they were like trying something new and showing big pay-per-views at movie theaters. I found it intriguing on the big screen. I'm like, wow, this is something that Canelo's never faced this type of fighter. I want to see David Benavidez and see how he does, because if he's going to one day take the mantle of, undisputed, like take Canelo's mantle or become champion again, he has to fight these kind of fighters. Canelo had to fight these type of fighters too. He fought Erislandy Lara. We got a caller on the line. You ready to take this call, Drew?
Yeah, but let me say some more quick.
Sure.
Like, after the Plant fight, you couldn't go backwards. You had to fight a name. You had to fight another guy that's in line here. And they figured they don't want the Barrow fight. And they couldn't avoid they're not going to be able to avoid this top guys anymore. So they figured they try to get Andre first and everything. But either way, it's your pick, your poison.
Yeah.
They're both bad matchups for you. And, credit to them if the fight goes on. And credit to both guys for fighting each other.
503, you're on the shoe shine. Can you hear us?
What? Yes, sir. What's happening? This is Chicano Prophet calling in.
Hey, Chicano. Lukey was just asking if our phone line was down. Thank you for calling in, Chicano. We haven't heard from you in a while on the phone line, man. I appreciate you calling. ¿Qué onda, man? What's going on? What's on your mind?
Of course, man. Well, I'm always listening, dude. And I wanted to chime in on this Benavidez versus Andrade potential fight, man. I'll tell you this, dude. This fight surprised me. One, I didn't think that Andrade would have the guts to get in there with a David Benavidez. That's just my opinion, man. To me, Andrade, he's always kind of been like a sneaky guy, always trying to get the Canelo fight, right? I know Drew believes in Andrade, but to me, the guy's a limited fighter. All this pop, I don't know if it's going to carry over at 168. I'll tell you that he supposedly has. I think that he's going to be food for somebody like David Benavidez. Although I do like the fight. I think this is a natural fight where you could see these two guys go at it with each other, and the winner should be the natural next guy for Canelo to see.
Yeah, I like that potential too, because for one, there's a backstory for how long Bubu Andrade and how many weight classes he's been chasing down Canelo in post-fight press conferences. I mean, we've got some funny memes and moments out of Canelo dismissing Bubu Andrade. And like you said, the potential for the winner of this fight to get a shot at the undisputed crown.
Here's a question. What happens if the winner of this fight doesn't get the Canelo fight next? Or the fight and the 3-fight deal that Canelo has? What would you think of that then? If he does not get, if the winner of this fight doesn't get a Canelo fight?
Chicano, you got it.
Well, if you're asking me,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking to me, Drewski, my answer is I think that we would have to call it a duck from Canelo, possibly. I think that with that third fight, I mean, okay, say Jamal's next, right? That third fight, it pretty much has to be Benavidez. I'm assuming Benavidez is going to be the winner, and that's the fight we should be looking forward to in May. That's my opinion, anyways.
Well, I do like that, and I've been trying to visualize a roadmap to Benavidez versus Canelo in 2024 in May. It's just it's the right time. David Benavidez needed more seasoning. He's got to get past Bubu Andrade, which is a very difficult test. If he can get past him,
that's what the fight's made. Like, the fight's not even made; it's in talking stages still.
I know how fast things can fall apart.
Yeah,
And on the subject of things falling apart, I want to get to this David Hay. I'm thinking of David Hay. I want to get to the Anthony Joshua situation because they're trying to salvage a pay-per-view at the last minute. And Chicano, do you still subscribe to DAZN? Because apparently Anthony Joshua will be fighting for free on Saturday. We won't have to pony up for a pay-per-view. And I don't even know if that Dillian White was a pay-per-view worthy opponent, Drew.
Hell no, it wasn't. It was a tune-up for a tune-up. Like, it's a fucking disgrace how... All right, you know what? Everybody, I'm going to say it right now. It's a fucking joke how you can take a tune-up just for another tune-up, and now this guy fucking tested positive again for a fucking banned substance, and now there's a fight week on pay-per-view supposedly, and these motherfuckers don't have a replacement name yet. That's fucking not only bad, because now you got people that are making hotel reservations and everything, all that shit, and they're trying to figure out, hey, who the fuck AJ fighting? Is it going to be a guy down the street at the English pub that they're going to pay £1,000 to step in the ring, maybe take like 2 rounds and just get knocked out and everything? Is it going to be somebody from the undercard, maybe Sosua, Gerald Washington, or are they actually going to do the high route and get somebody out of that semi-main event, as in the number 3 ranked WBO contender, Philip Horgative? Fuck no, they're not going to do that. You know why? They don't think it can beat Horgative. Eddie Hearns, I'm going to be honest with you. They knew, I agree with the people that said this too. Eddie Hearn knew that Dillian White tested positive for 2 weeks now. And they wanted to hold it off. They were trying to get behind it, be corrupted, to get him to fight still and everything. Because here's the thing. Chris Eubank was asked when Conor Ben tested positive, you want to still fight him? Hell yeah. They didn't ask AJ. AJ didn't get asked that and everything. So I want to know what the AJ fanboys or fangirls want to come up with now. Because tell you the truth, who's in Helsinki, Finland right now? That's only a 6-hour flight.
I thought just seen that dude fight. If I'm not correct, Chicano, did you see? But I thought I saw Helsinki was fighting like in a dark, cavernous bar this past week. Like, didn't he just fight like in some random like dark? It looked like a dungeon. It looked like a dungeon, bro.
He fought in Helsinki, Finland, over the weekend. So you're telling me he's going to take a 6-hour, you're going to have somebody take a 6-hour flight from Helsinki, Finland to come to the UK, which it doesn't make sense because he already got knocked out by Wilder in the first round. People was trying to say that was rigged and everything, instead of fighting somebody on the undercard.
Yeah, there's some great fighters on that undercard. Shout out to D-Style Boxing, Chicano. There's some not, I mean, when I say there's great heavyweights, Hrgovic, if I'm pronouncing his name, squeaked that win over Zalil Zhang. And that's a very dangerous. I don't agree that he beat Zalil Zhang either, Drew, but that's a very dangerous fight and I just don't see it. That's the fight I'd naturally like to see Anthony Joshua, but I would be happy if he just fought Gerald Washington instead of bottom feeding and looking for David Hay to come out of retirement with his busted toe.
I don't like that fight either.
Or like Gerald we said, Washington. Or the Helsinki guy that you're just talking about, who just fought last week. Chicano, who would you favor seeing on that roster that maybe already preparing to fight this Saturday on that card?
Well, I don't know about what's on the roster, but I agree with Drew. This whole idea of like a tune-up and then another tune-up, like Anthony Joshua needs to get busy. Like, I don't know why he thinks he's entitled to just take this slow road. It's not like he got his ass beat by Usyk twice. I mean, he lost, but it's not like he took severe beatings. Okay,
right.
He's still game. He should try to fight top contenders, man. And if you ask me, I think he should entertain, like Drew said, maybe go with a high road, get somebody in there that would excite the people, right? I personally would love to see him fight Otto Wallin. I think that's the perfect fight. Otto Wallin said he's ready to go. That would be my personal pick.
The guy gave Tyson Fury hell. It'd be some natural comparisons that we could make. Tyson Fury wasn't ready for Ottenwall, and that guy gave him hell. I like that fight. I like that.
But you know what? They're not going to do that, Chicano. And the main reason why, it's a bad style matchup. They're not going to put AJ at risk. And tell you the truth, the smart move would be like this. Get Andy Ruiz on the line, postpone this card a couple weeks, get him over to the UK so he can have somewhat of a training camp, and let's do that third fight.
The trilogy, huh? Chicano, you like the trilogy? The sound of that?
I mean, sure, why not? I mean, these guys are like in their lower bracket anyways. Neither guy's really fought for like that top prize. If they're going to do the rubber match, go ahead. Plus, some people think that Ruiz does have a shot in that third fight. And you know what? I'll tell you this, like Joshua, man, it'll show whether his heart's really in it or not. Like if he can fight like a top contender, and Ruiz still is, that would excite me, man. Like Joshua, like the whole mystique's over with, man. I'd like to see him either excel and get to the top again, or get beat up. But I would be happy either way.
Yeah.
But
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Drew.
There's also been one more name that's been brought up. A rematch with Joseph Parker.
I guess the guy's still a viable top 10 former world champion. He's still a very viable opponent to anybody. And if they haven't fought, I'm for that too, man. I just want to see Anthony Joshua stop bottom feeding off fringe top 10 guys to win back his confidence. I thought he would have already won back his confidence like years ago, man. It's like the rebuilding process is far too long, far too many coaches. I'm done with it. Get on with the show. But the idea that they're going to scrap the entire pay-per-view or the whole card over Anthony Joshua not fighting, if he don't want to fight Saturday, so be it. I can give a shit. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a pay-per-view fight I was going to buy anyways. I'll watch the free stuff. If he doesn't want to fight any of those guys, so be it. I'm over the dude. Chicano, do you want to talk about and join Drew and I about this fantastic Mexican matchup? Because I think this fight will be entertaining, whoever wins this Saturday. I'm talking about Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez for Navarrete's brand new 130-pound title. Who's excited for this Mexican showdown in Arizona?
Yeah, man, I would. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, man, I would love to hang out with you guys a little bit and talk about this fight.
Let's do it, because we're wrapping up the show right after this. Drew and Chicano, okay, let's talk. Navarrete was dominant, was an absolute stud at 122 and 126, had a great run at 126. Somehow finds himself picking up that title, making one more jump. We kind of saw his demise at 126. We kind of saw him slowing down, taking kind of, taking some pushback from fighters, giving him a rough time at 126. He makes the move up to 130 against that Australian guy named Liam Wilson and almost lose to a completely unknown fighter. It was shocking as hell. Were you shocked by his performance, even though it was a fantastic win when he rallied back to win? Were you shocked that some relatively unknown Australian guy almost got the better of Navarrete? Chicano?
Oh, yeah, that one totally threw me by surprise when I was watching it in real time. And like you said, man, he pulled the rabbit out of the hat and did win. But, yes, I was very surprised by that one. And it does make you think about this matchup with Valdez and how that's going to look for sure.
Yeah, because right now Valdez is the heavy favorite. I'm not surprised by that. I think the people making the odds, they kind of know. They kind of see the writing on the wall that his reign as a 130-pound champion might be short-lived. But Oscar Valdez, his reign as WBC 130-pound champion was very short-lived, Chicano. As I got to see him get schooled by Shakur Stevenson, I really thought Oscar Valdez in that fight would be able to do more. But it was almost a complete shutout where Shakur's technical superiority just basically stopped Oscar Valdez of having any offense. So this fight is kind of on a level playing field to me, but I want to know who you think is going to take this fight on Saturday night and why.
Well, those are great observations, Dave. And I'll tell you, like, to me, when you look at Valdez and who he tends to do well against and who he does badly against, he tends to do badly against people who are really fundamentally sound fighters, right? Or slick fighters. When he's dealing with Mexicans, man, he makes a very good account of himself. And, well, Navarrete, shoot, man, he's just a guy who's just totally unorthodox, right? I mean, I wouldn't say he's like fundamentally sound. I mean, he has his own style. Now, I've always thought that style would work for a while, but eventually I did think that it could get played out because it is unique and boxers aren't really ready for it. But now that he's at the elite level at higher weight classes, you're going to deal with real professionals, man. And it's best to box a certain way for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. And so looking at this particular matchup, I don't think that Valdez is going to have too hard of a time fighting Navarrete. And in fact, I could see Navarrete, when he leaps in, like getting caught with something like a nasty left hook or something like that, right? So although I would prefer that Navarrete win just because I'm a fan of his in general, I see Valdez winning this possibly by like 10th round knockout.
I like what you're saying. Let's talk about that fight where Oscar Valdez had one of the best KOs of the year, Drew. You remember that fight? Believe he stopped Burchell.
Oh, yeah.
Burchell in that fantastic knockout highlight reel, one of the best knockouts of the year. Burchell moved up to 135 and thought, it was a weight issue. But he's never been the same type of fighter. And I just strongly suspect, Drew, that Navarrete moving all the way up to 130, starting at 122, that he's kind of reached his ceiling here. And that style that he was very successful with at 122 and 126, I'm going to have to agree with you 100%, Chicano. I think he's getting countered on Saturday night and potentially stopped dead in his tracks. It almost happened with an unknown Australian guy. And I think Oscar Valdez's experience, everything he's been in, I think these two guys are made for each other. And while it lasts, this fight is going to be very exciting. I'm going to say knockout Oscar Valdez by stoppage on Saturday night. And he regains a title, one piece of the pie, 130 pounds, the WBO title. Drew Evo, what do you say?
Valdez, knockout 6.
What happened? Navarrete was the darling of 126. We were all like raving about the guy. He was so exciting. But, to me, the writing's been on the wall. Like the very last few fights he had at 126, the fight he had barely eking out this victory to win that strap. I don't know. I'm just not having a good vibe.
Here's the issue. He's been too many wars already.
Yeah.
He's broken down already. It's like he's been in a lot of wars, and it's coming up to him now. So now you're going up to another weight class, you're getting knocked out in 6 rounds. And that's what I think is going to happen. Like, it's going to be Oscar Valdez's best win.
Yeah. Guys, I want to mention Nando Lama said, do not sleep on the Torres-Murataya fight. Azabache Torres is a very talented youngster. I'm surprised this fight was made. I saw our boy Lukey Boxing in here earlier. I don't know if he's still here, if he wanted to call in. But the undercard has got a good list of fighters I'm very excited about. For one, Murataya was dropped recently, and he overcame being dropped and to come back and win in fantastic fashion. He's a 135-pound lightweight contender. Drew, they're not giving him the easy fights, man. If you look at the type of fights they've been matching Murataya up like against, say, Keyshawn Davis, and Keyshawn Davis recently did not do that well. People expected him to do much better as he stepped up the competition. Murataya's really having to battle hard opposition at 135 at Top Rank, Drew. But there's talk that if Murataya can do impressive against this win, that he could be a potential opponent for the likes of like a Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? With Robert Garcia behind him, this could fast track him on to be in the conversation to fight those top guys. And Top Rank has got a wealth of top talent at 135 pounds at lightweight. I mean, even the guy who lost to Lomachenko, Ortiz, I mean, they got some fantastic fighters, man. If you want to get this strap at 135 from Devin Haney, you got to go through Shakur Stevenson. You got to go through Lomachenko. You got to go through French contenders like Ortiz. Keyshawn Davis, they want to be a world champion. You know what I'm saying? Like, any one of these guys could emerge as a future world champion. I'm very excited about a fighter like Murataya. Lukey thinks that the guy could potentially end up with a title when these titles go the way of four separate paths, man, with the people he has behind him, Robert Garcia, that he could potentially end up with one of these straps. But that all depends, man. Nando says don't sleep on Torres and Murataya because that guy Azabache is a talented fighter. I got to go back and watch some tape on him. Chicano Prophet, make sure you guys subscribe to him. I appreciate you for the call. And also, Drew, your thoughts on Richard Torres. Finally, I heard he's fighting somebody really good, man. He's got like almost 8 pro fights, but I think he's got a handful of fights and only 8 rounds. But he's finally fighting somebody with a winning record.
Yeah, he is. And, like, it's going to get to a point that they're going to have to start getting him up in competition and see where they're at with him, because, tell you the truth, like, this style that he's fighting is not really a favorable style for him. This is a style that he can get countered and he may gassed out. There's a lot of issues.
Or knocked out. Or knocked out. You know, I mentioned Javalov.
Yeah, knocked out. There's tell you the truth. I'm not very high on Richard Torres because of the style that he's fighting. Like, tell you the truth, he's more suitable as a cruiserweight. And I always said it. I think he should lose the extra weight and become a cruiserweight because he's too small for heavyweight. And I think Torres, I don't think he's going to be able to have the stamina to fight a heavyweight. I don't think he's going to be able to take these bigger guys' punches full on. And I think he's going to fall into a counter shot because of the way he fights, because he's so reckless.
Well, I was trying to mention Javalov got signed. The guy who beat him, the gold medalist, is now signed to Top Rank. So it's almost inevitable. Like Keyshawn Davis, like where he's the silver medalist, and Andy Cruz now being a professional fighter. It's almost inevitable someday the silver and gold medalists will fight. But Drew, I know a lot of people have that criticism of Richard Torres that he's too small, that he would have been better off at cruiserweight. I had the same feelings, but I'm going to enjoy the ride because Mike Tyson was the same size as him, and he made it work. Now, I'm not comparing him to Mike Tyson skill set wise, but he could be explosive. And matched up right, I mean, he could end up with a career like Andy Ruiz, who wasn't a silver medalist, by the way. And Andy Ruiz did the unthinkable, knocking out an unprepared Anthony Joshua, who we've been talking about. I don't know. Maybe Torres will be all right as a heavyweight.
They're in the slow development of Richard Torres. They're slowly developing him.
Yeah, and the guy he's fighting this weekend has 3. He's been in there with 3 top 10 fighters, and he's got a winning record. So it's about time, because we've been seeing Richard Torres get early knockouts against club level heavyweight guys. So it's good. It's good time, because Top Rank needs to see what they can do, and they really need to get him some experience in there. We saw Baby Anderson recently. Everybody thought Baby Anderson would continue to knock everybody out, and you know what? It wasn't the best performance. It wasn't the performance people wanted out of Baby Anderson, but it was a learning lesson he badly needed, and now he's going to have that experience to go into that next fight.
Tell you the truth, I thought it was a very positive performance.
Yeah, the Baby Anderson one?
So, yeah, I thought that was a very positive performance, because you can see how good of a boxer he is.
Yeah, he made the adjustments.
Good of a setup guy.
And he made adjustments, and we saw him make those adjustments on the fly. The only criticism was that he's just not knocking. He's not going to knock everybody out, and that's all right, because there's going to be guys, as you creep up in level of competition, you're going to face guys that are not there to be knocked out.
You're gonna have nights that guys that normally that has been knocked out before is gonna do enough to survive, and you're just gonna win that fight because he was in survival mode or something. And you should just take it like that. You're not going to knock everybody out in boxing. There's going to be some nights you're going to have to use your boxing to win fights. And that's what he did. And that's what made me have the opinion, if he can correct the little mistakes, the little miscues and everything. And I think he can grow into a fighter that can really be unbeatable with the right and everything. He's taking those steps to correct those things. He even is in Philly as we speak, training with Boots Ennis and them.
Well, I like to hear that, man. That sounds real good to me. Drew, it's been an exciting show. I know today was going to be a short one. When I started off the show that the best KO I seen all weekend was in the sport of baseball, I'm freaking excited about it being the middle of August. You guys know I moved to Las Vegas, and it's still, I got to deal with 110 degrees every single weekend. And I can't wait for it to cool down as we get into September. We get into Labor Day. We get into Mexican Independence Day, Drew. It looks like we're going to have a lot of good fights Friday and Saturday. And of course, The return of Canelo Alvarez fighting a Charlo in Las Vegas at the end of September. Preseason football is here. Get excited. Get excited to whip out your jerseys again and start rooting for your team, Drew. I know I'll be seeing an Eagles hat pretty soon, right? I heard that. Yeah. All right, Drew, what's your take, man, on the sport of boxing this week? And when it featured Jake Paul, give us your hot take. Let's wrap up this show.
Clearly don't pay attention. Don't give a fuck about Jake Paul. Let's just put it out there like that. I clearly don't give a fuck about Jake Paul. It's a fucking joke, and so these fucking misfits. Here's the thing. They even offered Hasim Rahman Jr. to fight against Joshua. He's a bona fide labeled as a misfit now. He fought and he lost to Greg Hardy, a former NFL player, a former UFC fighter that was 1-0 as a pro fighter, and the pro win was against a guy that had a real bad sub-500 record, and he clearly got his ass fucking kicked. And they're gonna put that against Joshua. Yeah, Eddie Horn, you're not the best promoter anymore. You're a fucking joke. You're a fucking crook. You're crooked like a motherfucker. And tell you the truth, cash the fuck out of AJ and get that, and just let him get knocked. Let him go behind a fucking barn and get put out of his fucking misery already.
Yo, we're gonna be back next Monday night where we see if Anthony Joshua gets back into his fighting glory. Will he fight anybody? Will he actually fight, or will he sit out this card Saturday night? Of course, we got excellent action from ESPN right next to me in Arizona. We got Oscar Valdez going for Navarrete's 130-pound one WBO strap. And then we've got Richard Torres, the silver medalist. We've got a bunch of young talent like Raymond Murataya. I'm very excited about that. Don't miss that top rank card. And we'll see if we'll be talking about Anthony Joshua. And we'll see you guys all next week, man. Until then, I appreciate y'all. Peace out, Drew. Peace.